And good evening, Serve University students. I am Brandy Ray Hicks, and I am a nonprofit navigator. And by day, I am a grant writer. I am a nonprofit consultant, and I am in the community helping people find tools to enhance their skills to serve in their community more abundantly. Now, by evening, who I am is I am a communitarian, I am a giver, I am a servant, I am a teacher. I am the executive director of College Clinic, and we help students transition into college and beyond through academic preparedness, financial literacy, and basic life skills. And thank you and welcome to the 5 W's of your nonprofit: the who, why, what, where, and when of your nonprofit. And thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes to your community. Thank you for saying yes to your gift. Because as I work with young people and older generation people, I start all of my workshops with one specific question. And my question to you is, tell me one great thing about you. I'll wait while you think of that one thing great. Because that is the uniqueness that all of us have within us. All of us have special gifts. All of us was designed with a special purpose to do something in our world, make a larger impact of our community, that only we can do it uniquely and special and specific, just as if we decided that we were going to change the world. So welcome to the campus of Serve University. So if this is your first time joining us on Serve University's campus, you have already received your e-workbook. Your e-workbook is titled The 5 W's of Your Nonprofit. And so the reason why you stepped onto our campus is because you wanted to get clarity on your nonprofit. You wanted to create a plan of action, and you wanted to have conversations about cash flow, of how to fund your dreams. By the end of this 5 W's of your nonprofit, you will have answers to why you started this nonprofit and why is this so necessary in the community. Who are the people in the target demographic that you're serving in the community to make sure that you're serving everybody that's in need of your gift. What are you doing? You're going to define the programs of what you are doing in the community. You're going to talk about and discover more about where you are serving, even though it may be in your own backyard, or maybe it may be in the backyard of a global neighbor. We need to know, where are you serving? What are the economic conditions of your community? What is the geographical location of where you're serving? And where does your gift need to be impacted the most? And then it's when. When are you having your programs? Because we want to know the fabulous things that you're doing in the community. How frequently are you having these programs, and when are you having it, so we can invite others to volunteer, we can ask others to donate, we can publicize this on social media and get more awareness to your nonprofit. So the 5 W's, again, just like how we learned it in elementary school, are the who, why, what, where, and when. And so now let's do a shared screen of our e-workbook. And so when you pull up your e-workbook, the greatest thing about your e-workbook is that it is very easy to print off. It's very easy to read the content that we have for you on our campus, because I was that nonprofit leader that was always looking for ways to simplify the work that I was doing. If there was a template or if there was a workbook that I could follow along, it made my learning process easy. So the 5 W's of the nonprofit, your e-workbook, there's a brief welcome and introduction that we have with all of our students to let you know a little bit about what we do here at the Serve University campus. So your first question in your e-workbook is that we really talk about that gift. List the one great thing about you. There's something uniquely divine in each one of us. And when I talk to my nonprofit leaders, all of them say that something that they were great at started as a kid. Now, if you are that person that is that nonprofit leader that has a gift, that started that gift when you were a child, maybe it was that you like to read. Maybe it was that you like to write or draw. Maybe you like outdoor fishing activities. Maybe you like to cook. Maybe you just like to be in the presence of elderly people and helping them with their daily tasks, shopping, and playing cards with them. What is something great about you? And so as the workbook instructs you, I want you to take a moment and think about that one great thing about you. Because as you're serving in the community, you want to do something that you're great at so it doesn't feel like a bore or a task. And I really want to know, when did you fall in love with giving back? So what I want you to do in this exercise is, when did you fall in love with giving back? Think about that volunteer moment or that experience where you were serving someone, where it was maybe you were helping young ladies after school discover the best version of themselves and helping them with motivation and affirmations. When did you fall in love with giving back? For me, when did I fall in love with giving back is I was that 1.999 high school student that had a failing grade in math and English. And I think my counselor just rounded it up to a 2.0 because my dad was a principal in the neighboring high school. And so it wasn't that I wasn't smart. It was that I just was nervous of graduating and figure out what life and learning looked like after high school. And when I finally grew up and created a plan, I went back to college. This once student that failed math and English went back to college and knowing something that she was good and great at. I was always getting in trouble in high school, so I know that I was talking when I wasn't supposed to. And so that led to me becoming a speaker. I know that I was good at giving back, and I knew that I was great at helping other people. And so when I grew up, I started volunteering more and more in my community of giving back and helping others. And one of my mentors, that's one of my mentors to this day, tapped me on my shoulder and said, you know what? You could make a career out of philanthropy, out of being a nonprofit leader, out of giving back. And so I fell in love with the idea that what I love to do in my part-time passion, I can make a full-time reality. So I went back to school and I got my master's, and now I'm in a program for a doctorate because I want to learn how to serve my community. I fell in love because I knew that there were high school students just like me who needed to figure out a plan of how to figure out what life and learning looked like after high school. So when I fell back in love with giving back, I've always been in love, but when I fell back in giving back is that I wanted to help a young person that did not have those tools and techniques in any neighborhood that they came from. So now is the time that you need to think about, when did you fall in love with giving back? Because that's going to be the driving force as nonprofit leaders when times are not so warm and fluffy. When you're at times where you're serving in the community and it's long hours, little pay, limited money is coming into the door, or you're running out of money to provide your programs and services, and there's a great need, you're going to have to remind yourself as a nonprofit leader, when did you fall in love with giving back? And so what is your mission statement? Every nonprofit has to have a mission. What is it that you're going to do in the community? Mission statement should be short, sweet, and to the point. It shouldn't be more than taking a breath. If you can say your mission statement in one breath without running out of breath and rushing through the words, you're on your way to a good track of a mission statement. Because sometimes you only have 30 seconds to describe what your nonprofit is, and maybe the only opportunity is your mission statement. And now, what are the top 3 goals of your nonprofit? What are your goals that you want to create in your nonprofit as a benefit of service? Are your goals, for me, my organization, my goals is to increase graduation rate, provide safe and structured recreational programs for my youth, and create an atmosphere of academic advancement for my young people. Those are my top 3 goals. There's a lot more, but those are my top 3 goals. So don't get too caught up in long-term goals, but what are your immediate goals? What is something that you can be successful at if you're a new nonprofit within between now and December the 31st? If you're an experienced nonprofit leader, then maybe that's a really, really in-depth, what are your 3 arching goals over the next 3 years as you're working into your strategic plan? List the top 3 goals in your workshop or in your workbook of what your nonprofit will do with either the next few months until we get to December the 31st, or what are you going to do by June the 30th if you're one of those nonprofit leaders that's got to get some things done. So the first W in the W's of the 5 W's is why. Your why is most important because your why is what makes the difference in the community. Why do you want to do what it is that you do? Why do you want to serve? And this is the biggest question that will be asked of your community and future funders and key stakeholders, because they want to know why it is that you're serving. And your reason why will carry you past the low balances in your bank account and the many no's that you will receive from grant applications, the late nights without grant support or volunteer support. And in some instances, well, most, you will be underpaid and sometimes undervalued. That's the journey of a nonprofit leader. So you want to evaluate the needs in your community. It's always best to discover what are the problems in your community. Think about 3 problems that are in your community and how you have the solution to solve that problem. And so your first assignment in your 5 W's is, what is your why? What is your reason of why you are so passionate about serving in the community? Why is your program necessary? Why is there a need for your program in the community? For our organization, College Clinic, the reason why there's a need in our community is because over 35% of high school seniors do not graduate. So that means in a class of 100, 70% will move on, 30% will not. The national average is, I think, at 89%. And so Georgia is failing in their schools with the graduation rates. And so that's an important reasoning for my programs to be in the community, is to help graduation rates. Because some students that I've talked to, it's not that they are not smart, and it's not that they don't have options, they haven't figured out what life and learning looks like. So there are some students that don't graduate, they drop out, they get nervous. And then there's some students that have graduated. And then what's the ratio from those that graduate and that matriculate onto a 2 or 4 year institution? And so there's a need for College Clinic because we need to increase the college admissions, we need to increase scholarship opportunities, and we need to increase graduation rates. And we need to give all students an opportunity of creating that plan. So your question is, why is there a need for your program in your community? And the third section of why is, why do you need funding and support for your nonprofit? This is a very big question on grant applications. And when you're fundraising in the community, is they say, get to the money. And so people want to know, why do you need funding? And you have to be very laser specific in regards to your line item budget of the things that you need. If you're going for an $1,000, a $5,000, $100,000 grant, all grant applications are going to ask you, what do you need the money for? When you get awarded, how are you going to spend it? Because a good budget tells a funder that you'll be a good steward of the funds that they are giving to you. So why do you need funding and support for your nonprofits? You got to tell them why. Is it that you want to serve 25 kids in an after-school program for 1 hour a week for 10-week sessions? Why do you need funding support? Is it because that there are no after-school programs in a particular zip code, and this would be a safe space for your young people with an after-school program? Is this the last hot meal because the majority of your students attend a Title I school, so the economic conditions are not as accessible as other communities in your larger metropolitan area? You have to tell the community, a donor, and funders, why do you need funding and support in your community? So your why has to consist of, why are you passionate about serving in the community? What is there a need for in your community in the programs, or why is there a need for you in for your community programs? And why do you need funding for support of your nonprofit? So that's the first W. The second W is who. This is a fun part because you get to do research about your target demographic. Now, your target demographic, you can find information about your target demographic on a website like City Data. City Data, or your Department of Labor, or your Department of Statistics, or your state or your local city, or something of a government nature that will give you economic statistics about your community. They'll tell you everything about the household income, the number of people in the household, the spending power of your community, what is the number of people in your community, how many people live in a subdivision. I mean, there's a lot of data out there, but you need to do a lot of information about your target demographic. If you're working with young people, you need to go to school records and look at graduation rates, look at all the services and things that are already provided to them, and then find out where the gap is. If you're working in any community, figure out where the problem is with your target demographic. So you need to describe everything like residents, housing, income, geographic area, economic impact or lack thereof, and several other resources that explain who you are serving. And this is a great way to be unique, yet very descriptive about the characteristics of the people that you're serving, because in some instances, all of your stuff will be in writing. And so you need to tell in writing about the people in you're serving. So do as much research as possible. Libraries are helpful. However, you also can contact your college, like I said, city and county and governments. You can contact your local United Way or federal websites that help provide statistical data about the community that you serve. And so your who in your 5 W's are who are you serving, who is your target demographic, who do you need help from in the community. So now you get to think about what your squad goals are. Look at my cool mug that says squad goals. And you need to think about all the people and the positions that your nonprofit will need to operate. Now, this includes a list of board of director positions. And you could think about who you would want to ask or the type of person that you would like to ask if you don't have all of your members yet. When you grow to a staff, you want to look at what are the staff positions that I would need on a long-term basis. What type of volunteers do I need? What are the clearinghouses of the volunteers? Are you doing background checks? Are you doing fingerprints? Are you doing initial screenings? Are you going to allow your organization to be listed within the court system so when people have court-appointed community service hours that they can contact your nonprofit? And so who do you need to help you with your nonprofit organization. So this is an opportunity for you to write down your squad goals and who's really cool and the type of people that you would want when you need to build your nonprofit. And who is the founder? So there's going to come an opportunity where in some grant opportunities, or when you're developing your strategic plan, or when you're doing your annual report, and all of these are terminologies that you'll get familiar with as you learn more about nonprofit. But you need to tell a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Describe why the funder is associated with the mission of the nonprofit. What professional or personal experiences are related to this mission? Well, you heard my story of how I was a not so good student and how I was struggling about what my path was of what life and learning looked like after high school. And so my personal experience led me to write a book called The 10 Things You Need to Complete Your College Application, that gives 10 easy steps to walk a student and a parent from 1 to 10. That was my personal experience. But my professional experience of why I serve in my nonprofit is because I've been in nonprofit a career of over 20 years in human services, and where I've seen nonprofit leaders start their nonprofits and grow it and blossom it to do wonderful things in the community. And then I've worked with organizations that were grassroots that never really quite got off the ground because they were missing essential things from their nonprofit: board training, strategic planning, great fundraising ideas, marketing on cross-generational markets, things of that nature, of why my professional experience also led to why I want to serve in the community. So here's your brag time to toot your own horn about you as a founder of your nonprofit. The third W is what. This is most important because we need to know what program does your nonprofit provide in the program. Now, a lot of nonprofit leaders work in event-based programs where they're working a full-time job as a part-time executive director. And that's a great way how to start with not overwhelming yourself, as well as training and helping your board members understand the vision that you were so passionately about, to have quarterly opportunities to learn about the community that you serve. And so I like to advise nonprofit leaders that are new to nonprofits to plan something on a quarterly basis and make sure that you try to connect and invite students or your community over and over again, so you can track the success ratio of from when they started in your program at the beginning of the year, or how they ended out in your program, or even if it's just a one-time engagement, how did they come into your program, what did they learn, and a survey should be able to assess what they're doing and how they learned in the community. So what programs does your nonprofit provide in the community? What are the problems that your nonprofit solves in the community? This, as a nonprofit leader, that you're going to have to do more and more research. Well, we know that there's hunger. There's global hunger. And to say, for instance, that you want to open a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter, that's great. But what is the problem in your community? So you're going to have to look at homeless statistics stats in your community. You may not have even known that homelessness is a city-only issue. It's not a county issue. It's not a federal issue. It is a city-based issue. So each city has its own strategy about homelessness, and you can be a part of that conversation to find out what are the problems that your nonprofit solves in the community. And what resources do you need from your community partners? This is the time where you get to pull out your wish list and think about, what resources do you really need? Do you need money? Everybody needs money, but outside of money, what else do you need? Do you need things that are donated, called in-kind resources? Do you think that you may need used laptops? Do you need used furniture? Do you need used clothing? Do you need a used school bus? Do you need used uniforms? Gently used uniforms. What is it that you need from your community besides money? Are there community partners that have interns that can help volunteer for your program, so you're not just there by yourself? What resources do you need from your community? Do you need social media? Do you need marketing? Now's the time to be specific. Because when you start jotting your ideas down in this workbook, it's going to start to paint a picture for you. And what's going to happen is that these things are going to provide clarity to your nonprofit. The fourth W is where. Where are your services being provided? Describe the demographic conditions of your community. So we want to know about your neighborhood. We want to know about the number of people. We want to know about where it's located in your community. How far is it from a highway? How far is it from the bus stop? Is it located in an area where a lot of other services are not being provided? Where are your services being provided? And where are your programs being implemented? Is it in a facility? Is it mobile? Do you go around to different locations? Or is it online? A lot of nonprofits are going into virtual training where they know that their problem in the community is not only an issue within the United States, but it's a global issue. So they're having conversations online, just like some people have joined us on our Facebook live streams that are international friends that are looking to serve in their communities because they know the same problems that we have in our community that people are having across the world. And so we need to know where are your programs so we know how to come out and support you or where we can find you in our community. And where do you see your organization in 3 to 5 years? This is a question that nonprofit leaders really got to think about, is that what am I doing this for if I'm not going to see growth in 3 to 5 years? What does success even look like on a long-term basis of where I'm going to see my organization in 3 to 5 years? My goal in 3 to 5 years is to move my nonprofit into as many school districts as that I possibly can, not only here in the United States, but internationally. I want to provide my 10 things you need to complete your college application to help students create a plan on a virtual dashboard that no matter where you are in the world, that you can access it through going through OneNote. It's a free download app. They can go through the workbooks. They can go through the video training. They connect with other students, and their parents have their own information there on our downloadable app that they can take a look at for themselves. Where do I see my organization in 3 to 5 years? I see me serving over 1 million students in 5 years. Where do you see your dreams? This is where you start building your community dreams. It's not just in your neighborhood. You can't be selfish enough as a nonprofit leader to think that only the problems exist in your community. As you're building and working in your community, also have a forethought mind to think, now what other communities outside of my community can use this as well? This is how big your gift is. Remember when I started this conversation to ask you, what is one great thing that you're great at? This is where your greatness and service begins, because there's a ripple effect within the community that when one person hears that you're doing great things, they're going to tell a friend, and your conversation and your support gets wider. Where do you see your organization in 3 to 5 years? And now when? When is the party happening? When does your nonprofit programs happen in your community? Describe the time and day, the year, or the frequency. If you're working with young people, as an example, my organization works with young people in grades 7 through 12, and some older people who are adult learners. So where we have a normal 12 months in a calendar, January through December, my programs are led by school district's academic calendar. And so when I want to have programs, I know that my programs can only be in the evenings, weekends, and on holidays and breaks that the kids are not in school. I always have to be mindful when SAT testing is happening outside of school, when testing is happening inside of school, when there's parent-teacher conference night. I have to know when things are happening in my community so I know how to plan my programs to get the maximum exposure and attendance in my workshops. So you need to know, when does your programs happen in the community. You also want to check other community calendars to make sure that your parents and students are not stretched too thin. And pick a great time where you know students and parents are home from school, or possibly days. The best days, if you are a full-time employee and a part-time executive director, if it's not on the weekends or the evenings, check the school calendar to see when kids are out of school for a work day. And so if they have a school holiday, you can provide your workshops when kids are out of school, because parents are always looking for safe and structured recreational activities for their kids. And why not give your give your community that you're working with kids maybe a program at the YMCA where it's a safe environment, or partnering with a summer camp and providing your workshop. When are you having your programs? When are you going to expand? When are you going to increase your participation rate? In other words, you may start with 10 people in your group, but when are you going to spend to 15? When are you going to grow that to 20? When are you going to put a 0 on the end of that 20 and grow it to 200? When are you going to expand at the appropriate times that you have support and finances and strong programs? When are you going to expand? And when do you measure success? When you measure success at the beginning, the middle, or the end of your workshop, or the middle or the beginning of the year, you get to determine when you measure success. If you're working with young people, I always use my nonprofit as an example to help you build your nonprofit programs and things that you're doing in the community. So we measure success by graduation rates. We measure success by attendance. We measure success by parent involvement. We measure success by test scores. So you have to decide for your nonprofit, when are you measuring success? And so if you would like to get involved in seeing the things of what you can do with your 5 W's, stay on our campus and learn. That's one thing about nonprofit leaders, is that we cannot grow alone. We are so uniquely given these gifts of the things that we're great at. And if we're lucky enough to tap into this passion that we have, we're lucky enough to change at least one person. You may be a new to nonprofit leader and you're just getting started out and you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do? There's going to be only a few people that's going to show up. That's okay, because there's one student, there's one young person, there's one elderly person, there's one person that's going to see your gift. And that's all that it takes in order to spark change. And so we welcome you to the Serve University campus. This 5 W's is going to provide you with a lot of clarity, because as you're going out in the community and applying for grants, looking for funds, this 5 W's will appear everywhere, and when you're speaking to the community on behalf of what it is you're doing. If you're at the beginning stages and completing the 501c3 application from the IRS, guess what? They ask you the 5 W's, the who, why, what, when, and where. You're getting ready to welcome new board members or reactivate board members and get ready for them to get out into the community and serve. They're going to ask you for an update, and you've got to explain to them the who, why, what, when, and where of what you need them to do to participate. You're looking to become a community partner with someone, or you're looking to get community partners from different organizations. That partnership is going to require for both of you all to describe your who, why, what, where, and when. You're getting ready for a fundraising campaign, and you're getting ready to announce a lofty goal or a small goal within your community because you need support out there and you want to tell the community what you're doing. The community is going to ask you who, why, what, when, and where. They want to know where the money is in the community, and you are going out to get grant applications. What are they going to ask? Who, why, what, when, and where. So the earlier that you get clarity in your nonprofit, the earlier that you get definition on your 5 W's, the more successful that you're going to be with your nonprofit, the more money that you're going to raise, the more people that you're going to get at your programs, and the more lives that you're going to change with your unique gift. So for your first gift on our campus, we like to say, welcome to Serve University. And if there's anything that we can do, make sure that you check in and leave us a note at Serve University. And you can jump into our Facebook group and post your questions, your answers, anything that you may have to share with our community, with your nonprofit leaders, because you're not growing alone. Welcome to the Serve University campus.